Taylor Mondick with us, who's running for the House of Representatives in Texas. Correct, Taylor?
Correct.
Taylor, first time on the show, my friend. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us how it all started for you. Tell us how you got to where you are. You obviously have had quite the career. You're running in a phenomenal state. We all love Texas, all us conservatives. You know, it's a big deal, man. But welcome.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here. And a little bit about me. I'm running for State House District 95, which is in Tarrant County. All of Tarrant County actually falls within my district. So we're talking.
And for anybody that doesn't know Tarrant County, what cities and what neighborhoods? Kind of tell us where that covers.
Yeah, sure. Fort Worth is huge. You know, we've almost got a million plus people here.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's a couple of smaller towns. We've got Arlington, which is pretty substantial, and Edgecliff Village, Forest Hill, and then some communities in between. But my district has over 205,000 people, so it's pretty big. And you know, I've lived in this district for over 10 years, and being here that long and seeing such a lack of representation is really kind of what it inspired me to run. We need it. We don't have representation here at all. You know, we've been neglected, silenced. We have no access, and that is not what is needed from any representative. And we're seeing that now more than ever. And so I'm super excited. You know, the voters are excited. We're ready for change here, and it's been a ride, but we still have 6 months to go.
And what is the current situation with who holds that seat right now? Is it a Democrat or is it a Republican?
It is a Democrat, a 4-term incumbent. And so it's tough. You know, I knew going in.
Beating an incumbent is always hard, man. That's always a tough one because you know they're like, it's almost like they're locked in. They have you know, very little worries. You know, they have a lot of ego. They have a lot of confidence. You know, they don't campaign as hard, if you know what I mean. I mean, there's different things that factor into it.
Yeah. So 4-term Democrat incumbent, and I knew getting into this it was going to be an uphill battle, but the people here in 95 are worth it. I love District 95. I mean, I've spent most of my adult life here, and to not have any accessibility for most of our voters, to not even know who our representative is. When things get hairy, what does she do? She flies to Washington, D.C. and upholds important votes that we're having here in Texas that matter to our constituents and to our state. Those kind of things. It's made it relatively easier because people see it. You know, they can see how crazy the left is right now, and they don't want a proxy from the Biden administration here in their own backyard. I don't either. And so I don't see them slowing down anytime soon. You know, I hope for the sake of our country they do, but they're making it very easy for Republicans, for the conservative message to get out there. And for that, I'm grateful, but you know, it's a double-edged sword. We'll see what happens.
And Taylor, you know, kind of explain to me and tell me about the polls or any debates or anything in that regard that you've kind of looked into.
Sure. So one of the great things about Fort Worth is we have these little pockets, these neighborhoods that are so rich in history, and we have neighborhood associations. And so recently I was invited to a neighborhood association. The president reached out to me and invited both Nicole and I to come and sit, 10 minutes each to speak and then answer questions. You know, we're campaigning. This is what you do.
Let me guess, she declined.
Bingo. She's unavailable during a campaign. And
how convenient, my friend. How convenient.
Yeah, well, I'll be there. I'll be there to answer her questions. You know, we call her No-Show Nicole around here because she's nowhere to be found.
How did she win? How? I mean, that's a relatively, isn't Fort Worth, Arlington area relatively conservative?
So yes and no. We have my district is technically blue. It's one of the 2 blue districts that we have in this area, the other being in Dallas County. And, but, that doesn't scare me. Democrats are fighting in every single race. You don't see them shying away from races because they're predominantly conservative. And Republicans, conservatives for too long have done that. They have stayed out of things. And that was what I was getting here. When I was asking people to run, oh, no, we've always been blue. Well, okay, does that mean that we don't fight? Does that mean we don't get our message out there? Absolutely not. So we've got to step up and with that same kind of tenacious attitude that we see the Democrats, doing in every race, and that's how we're gonna make headway. But yes, so she was unavailable, so I will be there answering questions, talking to the community, and then apparently we will be trying again in September. So we'll see.
And when I think Texas, I don't think Democrat. It's not the first thing that comes to my mind. It's actually the very last thing that comes to my mind, to be honest with you.
Well, there's a huge push right now. I mean, there's a huge push to flip Texas, to turn it blue.
And Buddy Beto.
Oh, of course. And in Tarrant County especially, we are the largest red county left. It's us. So there's a battle for Tarrant County. And so districts like mine really matter. I mean, they really do.
But let me ask you this. There's every election cycle, Democrats drool of a potential opportunity of flipping Texas blue. That's never going to happen, is it? I mean, but at the same time, I look at how the demographic is working, and you have a lot of people that are relocating to Texas because of the cost of living, and they're bringing their bullshit liberal politics with them. And the day Texas goes blue, the day the United States is over. In my opinion, if Texas goes blue, we're all screwed. And there's no other way to put that in words.
No, you're right, Rory. There's a saying, as goes Texas, so goes the nation.
Yeah.
And it's true. And I don't want to be naive and think that Texas, would never flip Democrat, because I don't know if I believe that. I think it's absolutely possible. We've seen a lot of crazy things happen, and it's terrifying, but that is more reason to get out there and to fight, and not even fight for the Republican message, but fight for people having representation, electing people that will do their jobs, that aren't beholden to corporations or big business or people with deep pockets, but actually beholden to their constituents. We have lost that. I mean, just all over the place. And I'm hoping to bring that back here, starting with District 95.
How involved and how much of a factor do you think voter fraud is in Texas? Just because we see the border is right there. We know Democrats use illegals constantly for votes. I used to live in Arizona for about 8 years. I live in California now. I live in Palm Springs, but I used to live in Phoenix for many years. And I know this for a fact that illegals have voted in Arizona elections, and I know the same thing applies in Texas. But I'm wondering how much of an effect, how much involvement, there really is with that. What do you think?
Well, we've certainly had some anomalies for sure, especially in Tarrant County. We spend an inordinate amount of money on these machines, and every single election, there are major issues with these machines. I don't know how we're still getting it wrong. We've had issues at polling places. We've had voter intimidation. We've had ghost voters on our rolls. So it's happening. It is happening. It's unfortunate that we're not being as transparent about it. But one thing I will say, I have met so many individuals and organizations, grassroots and activists that are fighting this head on. And there's something to be said about that, because it starts with the people. We, the people, we are the ones that are going to have to correct this course that we're on. And so that gives me a little bit of hope. And thank God, Arizona, they have drop boxes. I know in California they do too. We do not have that here in Texas. So that helps. But there are other ways,
No, absolutely. And what do you think of this current governor race between Abbott? I mean, obviously Abbott has failed the conservatives in certain ways. I think he's a rhino, in certain aspects. I think there's definitely traits there. But obviously he's better than Beto. But, I mean, how do you think that's going to go?
Well, here's the deal. Francis, I don't like to call him Beto because his name is Francis.
Oh, I know.
Francis, he's nuts. I do not think that he is going to get Texas to rally around him. He's flip-flopping from every county that he's been at. He's 1 minute he's for school choice, the next minute he's not. 1 minute he's for this, 1 minute he's for that. And I think that Texas voters are smart enough to see through that. And honestly, keep going, Francis, because the more you're out there, the more people are like, all right, we need to get to the polls. And I understand that Abbott may not be everybody's choice, but he's our governor, and there's a lot of things that he has done that have fared very well for the state. And listen, we cannot let Francis get in office. It's just not going to happen. So that's where we're at.
And what do you think about the whole McConaughey situation? I mean, I've thought a lot about that, and I go back and forth on that guy a lot. There's a lot of things I like about him, but there's also things that I'm very skeptical of. And it's interesting because I think there's some ideas there that could benefit a lot of people, but at the same time, I think he has some things that he's misled on.
Yeah, for sure. When he first came out and announced,
he's very involved. He's very involved with the community. He's very involved with that state. There's a lot of people encouraging him to run. But go ahead. Yeah. Sorry.
It's just I don't want to take away from any citizen trying to get involved politically.
Right.
There's something to be said about him, stepping up and trying to make a difference in Texas and getting involved in politics. He already has a platform.
Yeah.
So there's something to be said about that. But personally, and I know I speak for many out there, the last thing that we need right now is a someone from Hollywood trying to run Texas. It's
the guy with his shirt off in movies on the beach, coming to the governor's office in Texas.
I mean, we've seen crazier things happen,
right.
But Texas is in such a delicate state right now that I want someone in there who knows what they're doing, who's serious about the job. And he may have very well been, but, I think he's a fantastic actor, and I think he should stick to that and keep making those movies and, get involved as much as you can. But let's just leave it at that.
Yeah, absolutely. And tell me, Taylor, about kind of the work you're doing out with your voters and your supporters and all that stuff. I mean, I'm sure you're doing speaking engagements. I'm sure you're going into the communities. I'm sure you're trying to invest as much time as possible, right?
Absolutely. I am trying to get involved in every single aspect of these communities. It's all about voter contact. With such a large district, I need voters to know that they have a choice this election in the ballot. It's not going to just be one person on the ballot. We now have a choice. And so getting out there, engaging with the community, participating in every possible thing that I can, rallying around our small businesses. That was a huge issue. I'm a small business owner, and another, issue that led me to run was when they shut down businesses. And we can't have that here. We have small, community local businesses, and I know they're terrified of that happening again, and they want a champion in office who's going to protect that. And so literally I'm averaging 2.5 3 hours of sleep a night. So once November hits, then we can rest a little bit. Until then, we are going full force, full steam ahead.
Absolutely. And you know what I love how President Trump opened the door for so many outsiders like yourself. And we all remember how the normal was, to be a politician, go to Harvard, go to Yale, all that sort of nonsense. But now it's like anybody, can pretty much, put themselves out there and capitalize on that opportunity. We saw this last election cycle, more outsiders than ever before running, and so many outsiders actually getting elected. So it's on both sides of the aisle. So Trump is a blessing in disguise, even to the left, and they don't realize that, but they need to understand that. But it really is I think there's a really change in how politics are being, perceived in many people's eyes on both sides of the spectrum. People are tired of the establishment. People don't want it anymore. People want other ideas. They want fresh blood.
That's right. And that's what gives me the most hope, is because, we all know when the great American experiment, the United States, was founded, our politicians were pastors, preachers, teachers, farmers. You know, it was not this, cloaked, bureaucratic, just buddy system. These were real people, that. And so us returning back to that, I'm starting to see it all across the country. That gives me the most hope.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Now, tell me this: what are the three biggest problems that are facing your district right now that you would say that you would want to fix on day one?
Day one, our school systems. We have some of the lowest rated schools in the state of Texas, right here in District 95. And I know we've been beating the whole, CRT and the social emotional learning and all of these things over the head. I won't get too much into that, but I am hearing from teachers firsthand about their focus on these issues, yet our kids still can't read. 60% of third graders in Texas cannot read at grade level. Why on earth are we focused on all of this other nonsense when our kids can't read? And so that's something huge that I want to tackle day one head on. The other thing is really empowering our district. We've got a beautiful district, a very historic, and we're talking about empty lots, a homeless population that needs help, and it's driving out businesses. We've got on the east side actually an entire business district that has just been trashed, and we need to empower our people so that they can make something of themselves, and that is what's going to help District 95. Empowering our businesses and our community to step up and to make District 95 better from the ground level. Those are two huge things that I hope to tackle day one.
What's the third?
The third, securing our border. And here's the deal. I know there's not much I can do.
It's crazy in Texas right now, buddy. It's crazy, man. Imagine if they overturn what is it, Title 42?
Oh God, I don't want to imagine that. And here's the deal. There's not much as me, a state representative, can actually do. However, I have a platform and I have a voice, and every single day I will be championing. We have got to secure our border. We have to, because the implications, we haven't even begun to see the effects of that. And I mean, the list is long. Right now, if we were to put all of our illegal border crossers together, it would be the 7th largest city in the United States. That we cannot sustain. So just to be a voice and to use my platform for these kind of issues, I think would be a really nice change here in District 95 for one.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we look at all these people coming across the border, they're not just coming from Mexico. They're coming from all different parts of the world, and they're bringing a lot of their radical ideas with them. Not all of them are bad, but we have to look at the ones that are bad, because those ones that are bad can cause a huge disaster in this country. We see how often terrorist attacks occur. We see how often a lot of these, crazy, radical Islamists, go out and just go crazy on the society. We see how illegal aliens, commit crimes left and right. And it's nuts.
It's law and order. I mean, I'm all about
the drugs. There literally was enough fentanyl just seized at the border that could kill, and I quote, go look it up, anybody, 700 million people. There was enough fentanyl caught at the border recently in the last couple of days that could kill up to 700 million people.
It's unbelievable. And I am all for immigration. In fact, we've got a guy over here. He owns an auto repair shop, and he came over from, I think, Vietnam. And him and his 80-year-old mother is still she is changing tires and changing oil at this shop. But he built this business from the ground up, and he's a trusted member of the community. But he came here legally. That is America right there. But there's laws. And if we don't have law and order, we don't have a state, and we certainly don't have a country. And so, yeah, you're absolutely right. The drug issue is huge. Our soldiers, too, they've been going through so much. We've had a lot of suicides. When you get into human trafficking, I mean, the implications are huge, and it's but we need people that will just pound away at it every single day. Like, I want to hear my representatives speaking about these issues. You know, they have got the connections. There's things that can be done, but when no one talks about it and you're only hearing it, you know, headline 6 o'clock news, that's not enough. It's not enough when you have a problem this big.
No, no, it isn't. Well, very well said. I love having you on. I want to get you back on very soon. Great guest, tremendous insight. Tell everybody where they can get involved, where they can connect, all that good stuff.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me. So my website is my95.win, my95.win. So check that out. And yeah, your support, your encouragement, your prayers, it helps a lot. You know, we've done a great job raising money. And if you feel led from this conversation to help out the campaign, it would certainly help. But if not, yeah, pray for Texas, pray for your representatives, and just make sure you spread the word to get out and vote, because we can overwhelm the system if we get out and we show up at the polls.
Amen. Amen. Well, keep up the good work.
Thank you.
I'm rooting for you, and we will definitely talk soon, my friend. Thank you.
All right. Bye, guys.
Thanks. Everybody, we'll be right back. Stay with us.